He is shocking everyone as Mason Rudolph continues to show out in Steelers OTAs. My name is Peyton Kleppe, and on today's episode of Steelers Digest, we'll be breaking down the latest Pittsburgh Steelers reports and analysis regarding the Pittsburgh Steelers football team. As the Pittsburgh Steelers have started their OTAs, Mason Rudolph begins to show out for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Before we get into the latest reports, if you guys are not already currently subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button down below. 91% of our current viewers are not currently subscribed to the channel. So if you click that subscribe button, we will get you the latest Pittsburgh Steelers reports and analysis every single day. Let's get right into it. Mason Rudolph. This is a guy that we drafted years ago, third-round pick, Oklahoma State, and he is showing out in OTA. He's got the mustache like Arthur Smith, and he's ready to go. I'm happy for him. I like the guy. He definitely had a down year in Tennessee last year. Split some starts with Will Levis. Obviously, they were the worst team in the league, but Mason did finish the season with 9 touchdowns and 9 interceptions with one of the worst teams around him in Tennessee. So I still believe in Mason. I still think with the team around him, I think he's going to show out if Aaron Rodgers does not show up. But, Mason Rudolph has said some comments on Aaron Rodgers, as Aaron Rodgers has still not shown up as OTAs have started. Mason Rudolph did say that, regarding the Aaron Rodgers situation, Mason Rudolph sat down with Steelers reporter Missy Matthews today. Check out the video on the Steelers YouTube channel if you haven't already. But Mason Rudolph said, "It's nothing new to me. There's been constant noise." When Mason was asked about Rodgers, and he said, "It's the nature of the NFL, so I'm used to this. I've been used to this for a long time, and now I'm doing nothing but being the best I can be to help this team get better this spring." And I think this is a great mindset for Mason Rudolph to have because, coming off of that pretty terrible season last year in Tennessee, he's coming back to a place that did draft him. He's coming back to a locker room that did embrace him after Kenny Pickett did get injured and got benched. And, Mason Rudolph stepped in there. He was the number 3 quarterback on the roster that year, and he did step in there in relief of Kenny Pickett and did play well. He finished the season 4-0, one game against the Bengals, the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, and, I don't know if the Bengals had Joe Burrow at the time, but Mason still balled out in those last couple games. He balled out in the first playoff game. Obviously didn't ball out, but he still played well for Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback in the playoffs. The past 10 years of Pittsburgh Steelers quarterbacks have not been doing too great. It's mostly been Big Ben, but he really has not shown up. So Mason Rudolph still had a pretty good performance in that game against the Bills, who were heavily favored. But like I said, Mason Rudolph is back in Pittsburgh, and I think with the right coaching and with the right development around him, he's going to show out and play pretty well. Mason Rudolph, he's coming back to Pittsburgh. It's almost like a rebirth or a reawakening. And, everybody's counting him out. Everybody's talking about, okay, Aaron Rodgers, when is he coming in? When is he going to sign? Who's he signing with? Is he going to retire? And, everybody's been counting out Mason Rudolph. This is a guy that he was drafted in the 3rd round, and he did start for us for a couple games when Big Ben did get hurt in 2019, I believe. Mason Rudolph, it was his rookie or second year. He came in, he started, he played not so great. He was kind of skittish in the pocket. He was throwing a lot of checkdowns. And, we really did not see the true potential of Mason Rudolph. But now he has played a few years in the league. He is 28 or 29 now. So he is obviously much just more experienced in the game of football in the NFL. The game has definitely slowed down for him. So Mason Rudolph, I think if this guy just decides to put his head down, come to work, embrace the team around him, and cut out the noise, I think he's going to have a lot of success. And, this is whether or not Aaron Rodgers does come into Pittsburgh. Because, Aaron Rodgers could come into Pittsburgh. He could sign tomorrow, And, but, he missed so much time. He missed so much of this time with the team that he could come in here and play pretty bad. If we look at the Kirk Cousins situation last year, they signed him to a huge deal and then draft Michael Penix to be an understudy under, Kirk Cousins, a veteran quarterback that they brought in, paid a ton of money, was supposed to play pretty well for him, But, we compare this to a situation like that. Kirk Cousins did get benched at the end of the at the end of the year, and he really did not play well throughout the starts he did play. I mean, even look at week 1 against us, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dude threw like 2 or 3 interceptions and did not look good at all. Did not throw many passes across the field. The only ones he did got batted down or picked off. So, we could learn from the Atlanta Falcons' mistake and just go with the guy that wants to play in Pittsburgh, is already with the guys, getting these routes done, throwing the ball around, throwing some touchdowns. He's already in Pittsburgh. He's ready to go. So, whether or not Aaron Rodgers does come in, if he does want to come in with the prima donna diva attitude, let him do it. But we still have a guy like Mason Rudolph who is hungry to start. He wants to show that he can be a franchise guy and earn his right as a starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like I said, the team that drafted him, this guy is a hometown kid. He's been in Pittsburgh since the start of his career. It was only last year that he did try out Tennessee, and obviously he didn't like it. He left pretty quick after 1 year, so he's back in the city that likes him. Most Steelers fans just want to roll with Mason at this point. Rodgers is just more of a, I don't know. He just doesn't seem to want to play in Pittsburgh. He's visited, he's talked to Khan, he's talked to Tomlin, but he just almost seeming like he's settling for Pittsburgh. And like Coach T always says, we don't want hostages. We want volunteers. And we got 3 volunteers on the roster with Mason Rudolph, the young buck, and Will Howard. And we got Skylar Thompson, a guy with some playoff experience. So, although we might not have the most flashy names in our quarterback room, I think we got some hungry guys that are ready to come to work, ready to compete, and show that they deserve a starting spot. And, get the Steelers back to the top of the AFC North. It's been pretty frustrating the past couple years. Not having really any contending play just due to the quarterback position. But we've really just had guys come in that have already had success in the past. We're coming off of big seasons or, stuff like that. We brought in Russell Wilson, a guy who had Super Bowl like 10 years ago, and expected him to play well. Obviously, he didn't. So why are we expecting Aaron Rodgers to come in and play any better? He's older than Russell Wilson. He's debatably worse. Looking at his season last year, when he played us, Aaron Rodgers did throw 3 picks against us. So, he didn't really play that well last year. The Jets only won 5 games. So, all these people that are begging for Rodgers to come in, waiting, we really got to look at this situation in reality and think, hey, we got 3 young guys on the roster who are hungry to work, ready to go, already in the building, already learning the offense, already getting some experience. And then we have a guy like Aaron Rodgers who's just waiting for something to happen, but nothing's going to happen, buddy. You either want to play in Pittsburgh or you don't. So sign the contract or don't. Anyways, that is all I have for you guys tonight on Steelers Digest. If you guys are not already currently subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button down below. Thank you so much. Here we go, Steelers. Peace out, boys.